Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of LaGrange Planning Board meeting for June 24th, 2021. This virtual meeting is being held under the auspices of Executive Order 202.1, issued by Governor Andrew Cuomo of the state of New York, renewed on April 6, 2021, as a way to remain in compliance with the stay home, stay safe mandates while continuing to carry out town business. In keeping with this order, this meeting is being recorded, and the recording will later be posted on the town website. Governor Cuomo has announced that most restrictions have been lifted, and consequently, we are expecting to resume our planning board in-person meetings next month for July. Jennifer, there's a person in the waiting room with a very, I think it may be a...
I'll be prepared to eject.
Okay, good, thank you. This meeting and public access procedures by computer and telephone have been announced on the town website and referenced on the town's electronic message board on Stringham Road. The public should be aware that public comments are only permitted during the public hearing portion of the meeting, and there are 2 public hearings tonight. During a public hearing, the public can unmute themselves and indicate that they would like to speak, or by using the raised hand option. And then I will go through these instructions when we actually get to that point. The first order of business tonight is that Planning Board member Paul Baseglia is unable to attend because of an emergency that's keeping him in Manhattan. So Al Robasco will be a voting member for tonight's meeting. In addition, Mary Morrison and Dennis Rosenfeld are running a bit late because of traffic in Westchester. So, but they will join us hopefully very soon. We do have a quorum. So I would ask that we discuss the minutes. The minutes were posted, and the planning board did receive the minutes in your packets. So we will, does anybody have any comments about the minutes? Is everything look okay?
Looks fine. Motion to accept the minutes, Mr. Chairman. Mark?
Thank you. And who's our second?
Second.
Stacy seconds.
Stacy, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, carried. So the minutes of May 27th, 2021 are accepted. I promised Mary that I would try to talk slow, but I'm afraid I can't do it. The first order of business is the public hearings. We have 2, as I mentioned. The first is the Partner Rentals amended site plan and special use permit. This is for construction of an equipment rental business and storage yard, including use of an existing 3,067 square foot commercial building, 1,027 square foot covered storage, and construction of a 6,070 square foot prefab building on an existing 6,070 foot slab. It is located at 84 Knoxon Road in the Manchester Gateway Hamlet. It's also a type 2 secret action. Brian, if you could kindly give us a little briefing for the public that are here, and we'll get going. Brian, you still
Hey
here?
guys, thank you.
Sure.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. This is the Partner Rentals application. It's been in front of the board for a couple of months, going through some planning and some detailing of the existing site. It's located 84 Knoxon Road. It used to be a old metal supply building. They store metal products on site. It was subject to fire, a portion of the building. It was removed. The slab was maintained. And What the applicant would like to do is come in and erect a prefab metal building to support a commercial rental business. They do mostly more commercial rentals. They do basically the way their operation works is, they'll deliver the equipment to the job site, they'll pick the equipment up, and they'll bring it back into service. So what we're proposing is, and we also had a site visit on site with the planning board, but we're going to modify the grade slightly. In front of the existing building, we're going to maintain the existing entrance. We're going to bring the grade up slightly along the north side of the building to allow for overhead door access and retail and employee parking. And then toward the, let's say, northern section and along the rail trail, we're going to extend the gravel area. We're going to provide some screening along the rail trail area. And then we're also going to keep the required buffer from the existing ditch line that comes across from Fireman's Way, and then makes its way underneath the rail trail. We've provided some renderings to the board. At the last couple of meetings, the applicant's colors are typically a gray color and a red highlight. In our previous renderings, we had the awnings in a red highlight and the building in a gray tone. It's going to be a new core prefab metal building, so it's a product that prefab metal building manufacturer provides. Other than that, hours of operation Monday through Friday, the appointments on Saturday, and again, the site was analyzed using their largest piece of equipment, which is a lowboy. They would come in and pick up machinery, drop off machinery, and we've forwarded most recently the last revision that we submitted to the board, which was, I believe, the beginning of the month, where we detailed all the highlights that we've been talking about, the paper sidewalk, the possible tree locations along Knoxon Road, and then also, since we're next to the rail trail, just taking a look at our screening options and our use that we're proposing on site. And as of today, it looks like there is some correspondence that came across. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it yet, but it looks like the county has blessed the application, providing we place a note on the site plan requiring coordination with their department if we start looking at street trees and sidewalk locations at the time of construction, just making sure that they're coordinated in that review. What they asked us to do is provide a note on the plan, which I did, just so they could look at it and verify that we did provide that. But official correspondence can be provided by Steve Gill. So I know that was one of the things we talked about at the last meeting, but it looks like we hopefully have that ironed out today. So other than that, we'll open up to questions from the board, public comment.
All right. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Dennis, thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Randy is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The public hearing is open. I'll go over the procedures during the public hearing. The public can unmute themselves and indicate that they would like to speak by using the raised hand option. This will allow us to see you, that you wish to speak, and recognize you in the order that you raised your hand. When recognized and unmuted, while it's not required, we ask that you state your name and address and make your comment or question. In the case of some public hearings, the planning board may require each commenter's time might be limited so that there's time to hear from everyone. The computer users, tablet or smartphone users can use on-screen controls to raise your hand. If you're calling in on a telephone line, use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute or mute yourself. When you have completed your comments, please remember to mute your line again so that the next public commenter can be recognized and proceed without interruption. Also, please note that public comments should pertain to the application considered and are to be directed to the planning board and the applicant, but it's not a dialogue or discussion between the public and the applicant. The applicant is required to respond to all relevant comments and concerns in writing to the satisfaction of the planning board. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments or ask any questions of Mr. Stokoza from the public? The partner rentals. Is there anybody in the public that wants to comment?
I'm asking Giovanni to unmute himself. He raised his hand.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't realize I raised my hand. Sorry. How do I unraise my hand?
Oh,
You
no.
just have to say you don't want to speak. It's fine.
Oh, I do not want to speak. Sorry.
There is a gentleman with iPad who appears to be raising his hand. Sir, if you wanted to speak, you're unmuted at this point. Oh, no, I can't hear you. I see you speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes. My name is Richard A. Rays, 90 Knoxon Road, right next door. And what I'd like to know, is that going to be a fenced-in area?
Okay, that seems a simple enough question, Mr. Stokoza. Could you answer that for him?
So we talked to the applicant about the securing of the equipment. The way the site is laid out, there's some natural features that provide in their minds proper security for the site. So the site has a very narrow entrance, which they intend to put a gate in front of the entrance, and that gate will meet Mark's requirements for fire trucks coming in. As you come into the site, the building's long and narrow, and that's along the neighboring property line. So that creates a natural hindrance to obviously coming into the site. And then as we work our way around the back, the rail trail is up considerably higher in elevation from this project site, and we're providing a row of screening. So there's a natural barrier there, both grade and screening, that will prevent material theft. And then as you go toward the north, work your way around the site, there's a ditch line that comes down through Fireman's Way. It's sizable. It's heavily treed, so it's again another natural barrier. So the only fence we're going to have is a sound activated gate at the front entrance. It'll be black chain link, and it'll be a low profile black vinyl coated chain link fence.
So you're saying no fencing?
No fencing.
All right.
Because I've been living there for 40 years now, and for the past year and a half, I've been chasing kids out of there, doing graffiti in the back, and parking their cars there, and I've been chasing them out, and they still come back. So I'm concerned about that. And the other thing is, on my property line over, there's great big giant trees, and those trees always used to fall down on that building when John owned it at Metal Service. I don't know if you've seen those trees, but they're overlapping like unbelievable, and they're not on my property, but they're on my property, but they're not. The limbs and stuff is on my property and over there, and I'm concerned about that. Other than that, I have no complaint. I just seen so many kids hang out there. If you go in the back of that building, there's graffiti there like crazy, and I caught the kids, but nothing can be done because that's not my building or my property.
Yep. I'll take this information. I'll take it back to the applicant. He's on the line with us now. I think with the presence with the new business there and the building going up, there will be security cameras on site to obviously watch the equipment. Hopefully that will keep the kids away, but we'll discuss any additional fencing with the applicant. Specific to the trees, we had a productive site visit with the planning board. earlier this month, and we did notice the trees that you're talking about, and we are preparing a plan in our next submission that will identify those trees to come down, and we'll obviously coordinate with you if some of these trees are located on or near your property so that the building is protected.
Okay, because I met the gentleman that owns it, and it seems like I'm going to have a good neighbor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. If you could make sure that that's documented, but your answers to those three things are basically documented in your next submission.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that had any questions or comments about partner rentals?
How do I do that, Linda? Star 7?
6.
Star 6, sir.
Motion to close public hearing, Mr. Chairman. Mark?
Okay.
I'd say adjourn.
Adjourn.
Yes, please. Could you make it an adjournment?
Motion to adjourn public hearing.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
That's Al Robasco. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? So the public hearing has been adjourned. Planning board comments.
I have a question and comment, Mr. Chairman. Mark?
Go right ahead.
In the packet, there was a letter, commentary from the county about the runoff into the neighboring stream. And I was wondering if we could address that at this meeting, or if that's okay with you. And
Yeah, my understanding is that just came in, so I know that Brian's got that letter now. So and he's going to address it. Did you want to say anything about it, Brian?
Yeah, we received the comment from planning. Their comments were related to the storage of equipment on the gravel surface that we're proposing to extend, and any oil leaking from that equipment into the stream and impacting the water quality. And speaking to the applicant's been in business since 1992, and they have had a very similar site over in the town of New Windsor, where they have an equipment gravel area where they store their equipment. So what they do is, when equipment comes in from a job site, it immediately gets unloaded and it goes into their facility for inspection, to obviously check for any damage, wear and tear, so they can close out the rental slip. While they're going through that, they'll do any preventative maintenance on the piece of machinery. They'll check for leaks. They'll check for hoses, anything that relates to maintenance of the machinery, before, and make sure it's rental ready before it leaves that garage area and gets placed on site. So there's a method of control of the equipment.
On here.
There's a method of control to prevent that, and part of their leasing strategy is they tend to turn over equipment relatively fast. They get a couple years of use out of the piece of equipment, and then they go on for resale while there's still some residual value to that piece, so that they don't have the older equipment on the site. So there is a method to protect that water quality feature. And speaking to the applicant and the New Windsor facility, they leased that site, and after that lease was up, they turned the property back over to the property owner. And before they turned it over, there was a phase 1 environmental that was performed on the site to prove that the condition of the site was contaminant free, and they did pass that test. So they have been in sensitive areas. They do have protocol to protect the area that they're in, and I will put notation to this fact on the site plan so that the sequence of how and the manner of protection of the site can be noted and followed for future reference.
Where do they do the washing?
I'll have to give that to the applicant.
Okay. The next, so you're saying servicing, maintenance, and repair is all done with inside the building,
Yes.
and you're going to get back to us on the washing.
I think the applicant's on the line. If he can chime in, and we can address the question.
Yeah, I can chime in quickly. So in our Kingston facility, we have a portable wash rack, which is a self-contained wash pad, and the water recycles through a system to clean the water. So we recycle that water. We would be purchasing a similar wash pad that would go. There's an overhang behind the structure that's currently up, and so we would place that wash pad underneath that overhang.
And it will be permanently there? How that
I mean,
works?
it's considered a temporary wash rack because we can move it at any point. But the idea is for it to live there permanently. Yes, like we don't intend on moving it.
Okay, so Brian, we'll probably need specs on that.
Yep, we'll provide specs and we'll put a notation on the plan of there's location and size.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think it's important if we adjourn the meeting to a specific date. So we adjourned it, but I think it should be July 22nd for the record.
Yes.
And secondly, I just wanted to put it on the record that Brian's office did bring to me the affidavit from the newspaper, the legal ad, and all of the receipts from the returns for the adjacent property owners.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Brian, this is Dennis. If I could, on the site visit, as you pointed out, the ingress and egress of that property is rather narrow across from Fireman's Way. And while we're on the interior, I noticed on the corners of the driveway, there's a lot of overgrowth. And I'm just wondering if the applicant would have any plans on clearing some of that foliage, more so on the side going towards Route 55, that area, because I would like to see a better sight distance coming in, well, especially going out, but coming in also. So if that might be something that could also be thought about, I would appreciate it.
That's the north side, Brian.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll put a note on the plan. And we'll identify the area. I know we talked about it during the site visit. Now pulling out of there was a little bit hairy if you're in a lower vehicle. So yeah, we'll put a notation on the plan to that effect.
Thank you.
And Brian,
you said, oh, go ahead, Mark.
Brian, getting back to the wash pad, maybe if Mr. Dillwheeler would like to answer this, will the degreasers and the chemicals and soaps associated with that be self-contained in some type of area of the wash pad? How will that work?
So we just use water, hot water. It's a hot water pressure washer. We don't use degreasers on the equipment. So the equipment goes onto the wash pad. There's a hot water pressure washer that applies the hot water to the equipment, and so anything coming off of the equipment goes directly down by gravity into the wash pad.
Okay,
Don't use any chemicals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then how you dispose of the water then?
So the water continues recycling. There's a method to dispose of any, I believe it's called sludge that comes comes out of it at the end, and that is disposed of. I think there's the company's called Vasco. There's a company that takes it away, and they provide a manifest so that we can prove it was taken away in a legal and adequate manner.
You said you're going to have about 100 pieces of equipment here?
If we do a good job and do good business, hopefully less, but yeah, sure.
Right, but coming in
Yes.
and out. So you're storing all this equipment on a gravel surface. If you had a problem with something that leaked out 40 gallons of hydraulic oil on a gravel surface, it's almost impossible to clean up. You would lose that oil into the dirt in minutes, correct? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a very hard, it's a very difficult, or if it was, a contained area would occur, but at least you have a lot more time to clean that mess. I mean, that's my only concern there with all that equipment. I mean, accidents happen, seals fail, that kind of thing. It's a lot of equipment. And the stream is very, very close.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I guess the the only response I can give to that is, we've been doing this for 30 years and that's never happened. We do keep fairly new and young equipment because that's our business model, and that also lends itself to having less repairs and having a situation like that not happen, right? Of course, it's not impossible, but it hasn't happened, and we think it's because of the quality of the equipment that we maintain, and buying new and turning it over early that helps to that cause. But you're correct.
I mean, yeah, even a
it's
hose.
not impossible.
I don't know if you remember when the fuel tanker on 82, tipped over, and by the time the fire department got there, they said what leak? The entire tank was in the ground in minutes.
Sure.
And then what did that cost? A lot more than a parking lot. So it just something to think about. You know what I mean?
Understood.
So we went on the site visit, and one of the things we did mention was the trees on the south side. You're going to mark the large trees that are to be removed, and then give us a planting for screening, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's see what it was. Let me just check my notes real quick here. Al, I think you had some things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we don't have anything. I mean, you got architectural review on this, and I was reading the code, and it actually frowns upon and says metal's not supposed to be used. Not that I would have a problem, but in this hamlet zoning, I'm pretty sure the code says that. So we definitely got to do something. I think I talked to you about at least keeping the same roof pitch that you had on the existing building. So a minimum of a 6 pitch, maybe some overhangs. I mean, you got to spruce this building up, and it's supposed to be 2nd story. I don't know how the board feels about it, but maybe some dummy windows up top. How high are you going to go with this building? I have no drawing to this date that shows the height of the walls.
We're going to match the existing when we were out on site.
Which is what? What's the height?
I believe we were around 30 feet, maybe a little less.
No, I'm talking about wall height, not the peak. I don't care about the peak because you're going to close the ceiling, right?
Right.
I guess the idea is architecturally to make it look like a fake 2-story. So really, I can't make you do that if you got an 8-foot wall, because it will look, that's not going to work, right?
No, we were higher than that. We had to be up into like the 15 range. And
Exactly. So if you're 15, 18, 16 feet, there's no reason why you can't throw windows up top. It gives you light anyway, right? And it makes it look like what the code is. You got residential houses there, so it doesn't cost much to throw some windows up there. And I think the code says they should be taller than wider, but even 4x4 sliders, which are cheap, will look like 2x4 sliders. They'll look like casements, right?
Right. Yeah. That's exactly what we discussed on site when we were there.
All right. So that's something to see.
So clear story windows.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, because if you're going to be 16 feet anyway, it would look better. It'll give you that free kind of skylight window look up there, right? And then you comply with that code much better. And then, stick with a 6-pitch roof, which on a metal building is probably better for you anyway.
Yeah. And
I just think, get some good overhangs all the way around it. And I think I'm okay with the metal, but it does frown upon it in the code. And it even states it, no concrete, no metal on the siding. But I'm okay with the metal. I don't know about the rest of the planning board.
So it's a should, not a shall.
Right. So we don't have to have it. Right.
So we just have to agree that it's acceptable because of the character of the neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, if you just dress up the front a little bit, whatever, maybe with like an apron roof there or something, at the end, whatever you do, but just do a little something. The roof pitch, the windows, and I think it'll look okay. But we do got houses right there. If you go with a 3 pitch, it's going to look too industrial in that area.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think we're close with it. So I think with these.
Okay, so you're going to have something close for that on that. So
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mr.
I'm just
Chairman,
trying to give you what I would like to say.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to remind the planning board of something that Stacy just said. So when I do the architectural review, I look at the should, which is encourage, and the shall, which is must in the code. And I reviewed this one in particular with an eye toward the must and shall, giving you leeway to make the other recommendations as you wish.
Stacy and Jennifer, you can tell me if I'm wrong, and I can't find it right now, but in the code for Hamlet, I thought it said that the applicant is supposed to meet with like Ken and Wanda, those two departments, before they came in front of us to kind of get their idea of what they thought should be happening there. I mean, I'm not sure that's true.
With the building department?
The building department and public works.
They did submit to the building department back in, I believe it was actually October. They brought in a statement of use and there was some back and forth at that time. And then it was referred to us.
Okay, so they didn't give anything on the building
Right.
yet, or no referral. Okay. I just didn't know if, sometime maybe they have I didn't know if they had a referral on it, I'm just trying to, okay.
Nothing in the architectural review realm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has anything, or how does everyone else feel about the steel siding? Because obviously that's what you want to use, right, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of matches what was there before, and
No, and obviously then you don't need plywood, right?
right.
That helps a lot. That helps a lot these days, right?
So I think we just have to agree on that it's going to be the prefab metal building, and we have to have it in the resolution.
Yeah,
Or
Al,
do you want? Do we need that as a motion?
Or do we need to decide that tonight before we see the drawing?
No, we don't need to decide that tonight.
Yeah, let's see his drawing. I mean, is anybody really against the metal? You know what I mean?
Al, this is Dennis. My
Dennis.
thoughts on it are the building itself is set so far back from Knoxon Road that I drive by there so quickly that it's not any type of visual impact to me. So I don't know whether we have something as far as building structure grandfathered in because it was metal initially, but as far as renovating the building, the setback is so far back that the visual impact would be insignificant in my way of thinking. That I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, I think he lost his grandfather, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I actually like metal. I think it's very easy to maintain. The paint job on those, if you buy good metal, it's 30 years. I think the metal's fine, just as long as they dress the roof pitch up, because from far away, like you said, from that distance, you're not even going to know it's metal if it's done right, So I think I actually like the metal. So I have no opposition to him using the metal.
Right. I personally have no problem with using metal. Depends on how it's going to look. So I'd be eager to see the actual
Exactly. That's how I feel.
renderings and stuff, and we can see.
I mean, roof pitches, overhangs will make all the difference in the world. And the second story windows, it will look way better than the original building. And I don't think that's really a huge cost, actually, on that building.
I have no objection to a metal building, for whatever it's worth.
It's actually a wood building with metal sides. It's going to be a pole barn, so it's going to be a wood frame building.
Well, metal sides, I think, is what we're discussing.
Right. Yeah. And I'm fine. All right. So nobody's really opposed to the metal. So we'll just wait for the drawing and we'll take it from there, I guess, right?
Right. Right. Were there any other comments? I know that there are some consultant comments and a few other things. Sean, do you want to?
Hi, yeah, Sean Connor with CPL. Yeah, we sent over our comments, I think on the 15th. There's a couple comments that are pending a planning board approval, like parking and curbing, that need to be decided for final resolution. And then there were a couple of minor comments that we added. Brian, you got those?
Yeah, I think everything was just kind of minor in nature. I think with the planning board's input tonight and then the applicant's responses to vehicle maintenance and how we wash and maintain things. I think with our revision, I think we could put those to rest at the next meeting with our responses and plan notation.
And Brian, CPL and the county both commented on the parking area, that it was not very clear what the grading is going to be. So and some of the spot elevations did not appear correct. So could you just do a simple, not elaborate, just grading plan in the parking area so that they can see where everything's going and make sure that the handicap parking is what it's supposed to be?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll blow it up on a separate plan sheet, so it's a little bit.
Okay. And
easier.
yep. And also for the outdoor storage portion of the code, we need to know what the actual outdoor storage area is, so we can check the code against the where you're going to be putting the equipment that's considered outdoor storage. So if you can just give us a delineation on the plan of that, where that is, and a quick area calculation of what that is.
No problem.
And where you're moving that pole to in the middle of the parking lot there, Brian?
Yeah, well, I think we're just going to remove that. That's just a spotlight. So that's coming out entirely.
Okay, I thought you were going to move it to another location.
We're going to do underground electric to it.
Okay, great.
And the elevations, I think everybody's talking about, the ones that we got are just like a picture of something that looks like it came off of a flyer or something, because it's got a generator in the picture that's not on your plan. I think what they're looking for elevation is an actual elevation with how tall, with some dimensions, like how tall the building is, what the roof is, what the sides are, and the material listing of what everything is. Because of architectural review, we have to approve the materials that you're using.
Yeah, I'll coordinate with the applicant and the applicant's contractor, and if they handle the renderings, but I'll take this information to them and we'll get it to you.
Yep.
Stacey, that's a great question. Are you guys putting an outside generator in?
As of right now, I don't believe that was on the table.
I just figured because you're a rental place, in case of a disaster, you still have power. I didn't know.
We'll confirm it with the applicant with our next submission.
And also when we consider the architecturals, we have to consider all sides of the building. So if there's any kind of architectural extra stuff that you want to add to make it look kind of nice, that's good for us too. So if you want to do clear story windows on both sides or whatever, it's just, we're supposed to look at it as you're viewing it from all sides, not just the east side and the north side. So if you can just think about that a little bit, break it up with some awnings. I know you have one awning on the south side, and I think you took that awning off. You originally had a awning on the Knoxon Road side, but you took that off and put the fake windows in. So
Stacey, is CPL look?
Al, I think.
What was that?
Someone was breaking up.
Is CPL looking at the county's comments on the gravel driveway versus a hard surface?
Yeah, I saw that. We saw that this when that came today. Thoughts are, I agree with Brian's idea of having notes on the cover describing the process of bringing trucks in, how you're maintaining that contaminants on site, how you're washing the trucks. I think one thing that will go a long way is saying that all maintenance of equipment will be done inside the facilities and the contaminants will be disposed of properly. If you get that on the site plan on the cover, I think that should be somewhat sufficient for the county.
Okay.
And while we're on the topic of the site plan cover, Brian, one of the things that we've observed on several projects, not just from your firm, but others, is that sometimes we're getting a plan set where pages in the plan set have been updated to a new submittal date, but the cover doesn't reflect the updated date of the plan set itself. So what happens is we'll start going through and doing a review, and we'll say, well, what set are you using? Somebody will say 4.1, and several sets are all labeled 4.1 on the cover. It's the difference is what's inside. So if you could just make sure that the plan set date matches the most recent update date of any of the contents inside.
On the cover.
Yes, the plan set date on the cover.
Absolutely, no problem. And then specific to the waivers, are we at a position where we can talk about those?
I want to hear what what CPL says about the county's letter with the rock, the gravel, because that will determine the curbs and all that kind of stuff. Should we? Yeah, it might be the board's decision to do all waivers at one time, because there might be some others as we're going through than just the ones that you listed.
I was not able to hear everything Stacy said.
No, that's nor I. Stacy, you were breaking up a little bit there.
I think she's
Stacy.
frozen right now.
Yeah.
Stacy
Yeah,
asked
it
if
says
we
my
wanted
connect.
to.
It says we're unstable.
I think she said that they could be done all at one time and probably at the next meeting after the CPL input is given.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, I can't see us doing the waivers tonight at all.
No, I just wanted to see if we were, on the right path, wrong path.
Brian,
That's, obviously curbs will come into play if they say they don't want the gravel, right? So you can't really give a waiver yet.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of points to ask.
Okay, go ahead, Jennifer.
Brian, it only became apparent after looking at the elevations and the axonometric and at the same time as looking at the plan, that the parking spaces two of them are right in front of the overhead door on the existing building.
Yeah, we'll coordinate that. We didn't. The submission was made after our engineering plan set was made after the architecturals were received. So we'll obviously coordinate that with the contractor and his architect.
Okay. Also, I just wanted to point out to the board that Wanda said that it really shouldn't be a problem coordinating any existing or future infrastructure with the paper sidewalk and the tree planting strip. She was asked and she responded that it wouldn't be a problem.
And Jennifer, there were no right-of-way issues?
At least not according to Wanda. She provided that in an updated version of her memo yesterday after I asked her.
Thank you.
All right, so
I think though there. Do you have a note on there, Brian, that says that that the Department of Public Works, just like you do for the county, how you have a coordinated review for that sidewalk when it's asked to be put in?
I just put that. Yeah, I just put
Yeah.
that note on the plan.
Yes. So you need
yesterday or today.
Yep, you need a county one and you need a LaGrange Public Works one
Okay.
of the same, basically the same note, because it's the same idea.
A lot of notes.
Yep, because Public Works, whoever it is going to need to okay it because of the water and sewer line that's out there.
Well, right. I mean, they would be naturally involved, and so would you, because that would be a site plan amendment.
But just put it on the plan so whoever has it knows that that's what the deal is.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
There's also a note that there's a notation regarding a SWIP in the construction specifications, and you should probably remove that since there won't be a SWIP. And there was one other discussion at the site visit that at least I heard, which was some questions regarding the reuse of the existing structure. It was more to this question of building safety because there had been a fire. And I think the board was just wondering to what extent you would be reusing the existing structure.
We're going to try to use the existing structure to the best of our ability, and we'll coordinate that with Ken's office. That's a building department issue. So that will be with Ken, and we'll coordinate that.
So when you're doing your architectural drawings, just make sure that the information, the size and the dimensions and everything that you're putting on there is what you're expecting to do. So that if you have to take it down and put something else up, it's going to be the exact same size and everything, or Ken's going to send you back here.
Yeah, all the info is going to the applicant's architect. Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm good.
okay, good. So this has been adjourned to July 22nd. So we'll see you back on this one. And
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
In person.
In person, yes. That should be fun. All right, the next public hearing is AGS Commerce amended site plan application for the conversion of an existing 20,200 square foot office manufacturing building into a warehouse to support an existing gutter supply business and construction of an additional 20,184 square foot prefab metal building for additional material storage at 19 Commerce Street, and it's in an industrial zone. All right, do you want to tee this one up also, Brian, for the public hearing?
The site's located at 19 Commerce Street in the industrial zone, the town of LaGrange. It used to be the old C-Tech building. It used to be an office and a manufacturing facility for ceramics. It's been abandoned for quite some time with no activity. There were a large amount of trailers on site, subject to graffiti and vandalism over the course of the years. What the applicant would like to do is she's purchased a piece of property. They have an existing gutter supply business up on Industry Street. And what they'd like to do is expand their warehousing so that products can be undercover instead of being outside. So they purchased this piece of property with the hopes of putting a 20,000 square foot warehouse next to the existing building. As part of that, we're going to freshen the existing employee parking in front of the current building, freshen it with some landscaping and new paint on the building. Going toward the north along Commerce Street, there's a loading zone that we are proposing for tractor trailers to back into. What would happen is a product comes off the tractor trailers at the loading dock, comes into the existing building, it's tagged, and then it is moved into the warehouse to the west. The warehouse will be, there's no heat or insulation, it's just lighting, there's no water, strictly warehousing to keep material undercover. In hopes of having winter operations where they can grab material and give it to the suppliers. As part of that, we're redoing the entrances across from Industry Street. We're showing a couple of loading bays. A lot of their material that comes out of the warehouse will be, it's mostly van deliveries now. Products are on rolls and they go into van trucks. So we provided a loading zone for that. We're not going to be employee heavy here as to the previous use. There's a couple of employees for the office and then employees to move the material around to the warehouse. As far as from a retail standpoint, they do sell gutter supplies, but a majority of their operation is more commercial based. So we don't expect a lot of retail traffic from the average consumer to the site. We are on Central Water. We do show the septic septic field on site. We're working with Board of Health. This is, from a water usage standpoint, we're significantly less than the operations that were there previously. We're desperately trying to work with the Board of Health to get their approval so we can make you guys happy and take this to the next step. Other than that, that's it in a nutshell. We're under an acre disturbance. We're treating roof runoff with infiltrators on site, and then discharging with an overflow on the backside of the property. There was a hit for wetlands on the GIS mapper, but we've done some investigations out there with Mike Nowicki, and I think coordinated with the town, and we found out there are no wetlands on site, off site, or any buffer encroachments with this action. We had New York State Offices of Parks and Recreation issue a letter of no effect for the site. I think other than that, that's it in a nutshell. We'll open it up to public comment and board comment.
Okay. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Let's
Motion open.
And Randy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. If there's anybody from the public that would like to make a comment about this, this application was initially brought up last month. We have a comment from Giovanni's iPhone. Okay, Giovanni, you can unmute and please make your comment.
Hi. So I was just curious, when you had said there are no wetlands on the property or the site, are there possibly wetlands that are there some time of the year and not there others? Or just no wetlands period any time of the year?
So, you want me to answer that, Brian?
Sure, go ahead.
So when you look at the mapper for New York State, it shows that there is a wetlands there. We had Mike Nowicki, who is a wetlands biologist, and he's also a Blandings turtle site inspector. And he went out and looked at the site and determined that there weren't any plants or any such flora and fauna on the site that would have to do with wetlands. So then we did a follow-up. He also looked at neighboring properties, and he also determined there weren't any on the neighboring properties. And then we contacted the US government Army Corps of Engineer, and they also determined that there were no wetlands on that site that they had jurisdiction under. Does that answer your question, Giovanni?
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think we want to adjourn this one again because the public hearing will also flow into our site plan public hearing. So could I have a motion to adjourn this public hearing to July 22nd?
So moved.
Second, Mark.
Give that to Dennis, and Mark is second.
Sorry, Mary, you didn't get in there.
I think you were in there, Mary. I think it was close.
It was a Mark Mary.
Yeah.
All in favor of that?
We could give it to Mary.
Mary's really okay, guys.
It was a Dennis Mary, right?
Oh, Dennis Mary. Yeah, Dennis Mary.
Anyone opposed? All right, carried. All right. I know that we have a number of comments from Wanda, CPL, and the planner that need to be cleaned up on this. You mentioned Board of Health approvals that you're still waiting on. We also had a question. I don't know if we've discussed the snow storage or mentioned it. Usually our town highway is interested in that topic.
Yeah. So the town usually asks us to provide a snow storage easement along the town road somewhere for them. I know you have snow storage for your site, for your parking lots, but they have always asked us to think about them when we do snow storage. So they want snow storage easements, possibly when they turn the corner, when they come back around. Or I have, you'll have to look at that and see where you can put one. What's best?
Yeah, no, I've been doing this 20 years and I've never heard of it, but we will provide it where we can. I think there's a couple hydrants. I think the water lines on that side of the road. But yeah, where we can fit it, we will obviously provide it and make Mr. Kelly happy.
Yep. Well, Brian, in all due respect, most of your projects have been on county roads or state roads recently. And Mike asked us to start doing that last year so that he didn't have to ask specifically. He just said, can you just ask for me each time? And I said, okay.
Next time I see him, I'm going to
yeah, you tell him.
Listen, buddy, you got to tell me this stuff.
Yep. Well, he just sent the planning board a blanket referral thing and just said, can you do this for us whenever you're on a town road?
I will make the Silver Fox happy and I will thrive.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Do we have a standard easement for the wing plow? Like, putting the snow 3-4 feet on their property? Don't we have a standard whatever or no?
I think it's by location, like especially if you're in a cul-de-sac, it's definitely a certain CPL knows. They've been doing the snow easements for the town for a long time.
Yeah,
No,
we
we're
do.
just on a standard road.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
must
lot
have
for the
some
town road. We
easements,
try
right?
to stick them in cul-de-sacs and stop at the end of the roads and whatnot.
Right, but even plowing a regular road, straight road, you got to wing it back. You're on somebody's property by so many feet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So-
It's usually when these things come forward, they make it a requirement, especially for new things that come in.
Right. Okay.
So just, get with CPL and figure that out where they want the snow easements for the town.
No problem.
They
And-
just have to keep everything out of the gutter, pun intended.
Yeah. Ha ha ha.
Out of the gutter.
Uh-huh. And the only other thing I noticed, the employee parking. You had said that back in the loading zone, you'd designate that for employee parking.
Throw some signs on there, huh?
Yeah, just put a note on the plan, designated employee parking.
Okay.
So that we know that that's where the employees are supposed to be parking, so that you're not gonna block in a customer per se, that during a loading or unloading.
No problem.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Are we,
Okay.
are we at a point where we can discuss the neg deck? The secret determination? Is there anything outstanding that we need to hold off on that?
I would say all the items that we discussed and that are in the letters are, within the realm that seeker can be done now.
Okay. So Jennifer, I know that you prepared a draft neg deck. You're muted.
Yes, typically when I prepare these, and sometimes some things come in at the very end, I look through all of the comment memos and letters and reviews and outside agency reports and so on, and simply try to respond to all the questions of the impacts that are in this standard. So impact on air, impact on land and water, traffic and noise impact, solid waste impacts, plants and animals, agriculture and land resources, critical environmental areas, and consistency with community plans and goals. Impact on archaeological resources, we discussed that, aesthetic resources and neighborhood character. There is, in fact, I should just pause to say there are actually architectural guidelines for this neighborhood as well. And they're similar to the Hamlet and some of the other areas in town. But it was decided early on, I did a review, but it was also decided that the prefabricated building was appropriate to this character of this district. Impacts on energy, public health, open space and recreation. So this is the standard format, as everyone knows, for the neg deck, and I incorporated everything that we learned along the way in this form.
So I do know that the neg deck that was distributed, it obviously had that initial error.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, the Cornell Farm. Apologies. Yes, I will. This was a draft. I will revise that.
So hear ye, it is not Cornell Farm neg deck.
Yes.
Yes. I just have a couple, so I'll just read them now and then I'll send them to Jennifer. I'll scan this paper in with all my writing on it, and then she can fix it as is. So on number 2, where it says impacts on land and water, the action will not result in a substantial inverse change in the ground or surface water quality or quantity for a substantial adverse increase in potential for erosion, flooding, leaching, or drainage problems.
Okay.
Then I wanted to say the potential wetland on the parcel is a federal wetlands under the jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers. There is no DEC wetlands, and under further assessment of the property and determine, there's no DEC wetlands. Then that goes back to, according to a letter by consultant biologist Michael Nowicki dated March 23rd, 2021. And
it's actually 0.90 acres.
Yep. And under further assessed the further assess the property and determined that there were no federal wetlands. Wanda Levigny with Brian Orzel of the Army Corps of Engineers determined that. So I want to put that in there. And then let's see, under water consumption. And instead of having water consumption and sewer fall under that section, I would like a water consumption and sewer section by itself. That the project is in the Manchester Water District, and the plans are to connect this to that source. The product is utilizing a subsurface sewage disposal system, or existing, subsurface disposal system located on the property. So, because it's in the sewer district, but there's no sewer there. They haven't extended it to there yet. So they're actually using an SDS. And then my final thing is on number 12, which is impacts on health, where it says it will be connected to a municipal water and sewer. It's actually municipal water and an on-site existing subsurface sewage disposal system. And then I think on number 14A, we don't really need that. I think because it says something about large number of people isn't going to be here in the same place for a few days. I don't think we need that.
These are just standards that have been in the neg decks for time immemorial, and they're there because of the part 2 and 3 that are required for the planning board to fill out. It's our part to acknowledge those points. So that's why they're just sort of the standard format.
They're specific within the code requirements, so they're listed in most of the neg decks because it's one of the things that the board's obligated to look at when it's taking its hard look. So with those considerations, those basically include Wanda's comments that she provided to the board earlier. I guess my question to the board is, do you want to see the revised neg deck before you vote on it, since you're not taking action on the overall resolution tonight, or would you prefer that you vote on it with the modifications that Stacy made, Wanda proposed, and correcting the one name of the applicant tonight?
Which I can circulate for Lisa and the board's approval if you prefer to do the latter.
I'm fine with the approving it tonight based on the amendments that Stacy enumerated, and she'll send them to Jennifer when they come back. Both Stacy and I can verify that it's to our liking. And is there any other planning board member that has an objection to that approach?
I have no objection.
No objection.
Thank you.
Right, then I would entertain a motion to approve this negative declaration on.
Go ahead, Mary.
I think Mark did it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that. I passed it over.
So I'll make the motion, guys.
Okay.
Just start doing like a
Mary
pity
makes the
motion.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh,
Randy.
Okay, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed?
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Good job, Mark.
All right. So thank you, Brian. I think we're going to see you again right at the end here.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That concludes our public hearings for tonight. I'll remind the public that there is no public comment period at the planning board meetings. So public hearings are closed. The next topic for tonight is an initial presentation, I guess you'd call it that, for Wright Farm subdivision. This is the McConnell Lot Number 2 special use permit for construction of a proposed new single-family residence in the Ridgeline Protection Overlay Zone. I see that Mr. McConnell and Mr. Gillespie are on. So if one of you could describe for us what's going on here.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I hope everybody can hear me. Some time ago, there was a subdivision entitled the Wright Farm subdivision, which created a bunch of basically estate lots, large lots. And as a caveat to that subdivision, there was a requirement based upon the fact that, number one, there is a portion of the property that's within the ridgeline. And two, because the lots are so large, there's quite a bit of flexibility relative to where you can put the home and the septic areas and so forth, that prior to any kind of building permit being issued to any of these lots, they were required to come before the planning board and obtain that special use permit for the construction of the home and site improvements and so forth. So Mr. James McConnell, as you mentioned, is with us tonight. He's the gentleman who's purchased the property. He's looking to construct his own home on the property. And that's effectively the background. Just in terms of the parcel itself, there's an existing access that does come off of 82. There is an existing home as you work your way into the parcel heading in an easterly, I guess, direction. This is going to be a shared driveway for a significant portion, approximately 700 feet in. That's the way the original subdivision was proposed. There's easements and so forth from one lot to the other, allowing all of this. We are planning on extending and coming off that portion of shared driveway and following effectively an existing, I don't want to say it's a farm lane, but there's an existing dirt road that kind of follows up and basically effectively kind of works in the same location where we're proposing our proposed driveway. So we have septics, it's wells. We've been out there to pop holes, soil testing with the health department. So we are now in front of this board relative to moving forward to the special permit application and approval.
Anyone on the planning board have any questions about this?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Mark, before you say anything, can we get a plan put up? Can he share, Chris?
I can do it if Michael doesn't have it handy.
Yeah, I'm kind of on my phone here, so that'd be a little tough, I think.
Okay, just a moment.
Thank you.
Looks like you're camping.
Outside the back porch here.
Okay, good for you.
I think they call that glamping, Mr. Chairman.
Glamping. Yes, that's true. That's
Yes.
Okay. I've got it. Hold on. Just a moment. Okay. Is that big enough, or would you like me to blow it up some more?
Can you see that, Stacy?
Yeah, I can see that.
Is it, Stacy, could I go, or you have a question?
Yo, go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Gillespie, I have a few questions pertaining to this. Number one, you mentioned it's 700 feet of shared driveway. Could you tell us how many feet it is total to get up to the house with that driveway?
Well, I can guesstimate it based upon, again, that's 700 feet. I would venture to say you've probably got another 2,000 feet to get to the house location, plus or minus. So it's a good run to where the proposed house is. And it has to do with the contours. And again, trying to implement that existing dirt road. It's not a straight shot up the hill. We kind of have to work with the contours a little bit.
Okay, I have a concern that I'd like to pass on to you regarding emergency equipment going up. It's always easy, but we can't back up tankers and engines from our fire district and even ambulances that type of distance. Will there be, number one, how wide will that driveway be? And will there be an area that vehicles can turn, larger vehicles can turn around? God forbid there's an emergency up there.
Yeah, I know that on other projects over time, we've proposed certainly within certain intervals, turnoffs and so forth on the edge of the driveway. I don't think it's unreasonable to request an area to allow a large piece of equipment to turn around up top and make its way back down. So, we can certainly look at that. We have the room, obviously. So,
okay, if you could, I'd greatly appreciate it because I don't know how we'd back out of there.
Makes sense. Yep.
And I think in the past, we've also, on driveways that are a certain length, we asked for pull-offs.
That's what I meant. Yep.
There was also a discussion of the slope on these turns. If you can see here and also here, that might be a question for the fire equipment.
So you'll need to turn in driveway profiles along with a regrading plan. So that can all be looked at via those two items.
Right. And how wide is it going to be, Mr. Gillespie, the driveway?
Yeah, I mean, typically,
like
I think, the town spec in terms of a paved way is typically 12 feet, but then there's shoulders on each side. So I don't, to venture, I think you'd probably be right. And the grading is going to create some of that too, but it'd probably be a clear 20-foot right of way all the way up through.
Okay. And what about how close will there be trees to this driveway on that whole run? Is there anything low?
Well, again, there'd be based upon the grades we're required to pave. So you've got that 12-foot paved area. If you added another 6 feet on both sides in terms of shoulders, you're at that 20-foot width.
Okay.
So that the idea would that be clear all the way up.
Okay, great.
Would you shoulder that material with bank run, or you're gonna at least, so if the trucks do have to come off the blacktop a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, if you don't want to blacktop the whole thing 20 feet, you got to at least give that truck a hard surface to make a turn on.
Thank you, Al. I was just
in terms of providing that hardened surface all the way, I mean, obviously there's cost aspect of this too.
Well, I'm saying if you shoulder right, if you have just say you have a 14-foot driveway, you could always put 6 feet of bank run on both sides. Dirty bank run that could even grow a little grass or whatever they want to do, but yet the trucks are not going to sink any time of the year in that type of soil. And it's a lot cheaper than paving 20 feet.
And we also have those type of pavers that the grass grows through up and the trucks can go on.
Yeah, but I don't know how they work. You think they work good on that type of, maybe that's a consideration. That's
something
true.
to look at. Yep.
Yep. Actually, on the bends and stuff, that's a good idea.
Al, it also depends on the grade because sometimes they will give way and move. So
right.
Yeah, but so will the bank run.
Shouldering with a bank run material that stays hard. That's pretty much will stay hard and freeze in the winter. And you don't have to have a highway up there that way, in a sense, and still be able to get big trucks in there without, you go off a clay surface, you're going to sink out of sight. And plus the driveway is going to break up anyway, those type of things.
So were you planning on paving the whole thing?
Based upon town code, I don't know how we get away without it.
Well, the slope wise, you have to,
Right.
And yeah, okay.
And Mike, I guess this is, you're going to have to survey trees on this too, right?
Yeah.
Or
So
not?
mainly I know when you look at Google Earth, there's clumps of trees. And so there's a definite tree line. So he'll definitely have to put those on. And then any large trees in the disturbance area.
Okay.
Right, driveway, house, yep.
Yeah.
That's what.
And septic.
Yeah. Okay. And like I said, this driveway that exists is effectively a, it's again, it's not a farm. It's not a farm road, but there's a dirt road there. So there's been, whenever it was 20, 30 years ago, there's an open area by which you can kind of maneuver there now. So yeah, if we could provide those just within the areas of disturbance to highlight those, that was going to be my suggestion anyway. So that's fine.
So when we did this subdivision way back when, we located the house under the 500-foot mark. And now you've moved it up into the 500-foot mark.
I think, yeah, we're sitting around 514, 16, something around
Yep,
there.
that's what it looks like.
Right.
So because this piece of property is so large, we could actually keep it out of the ridge line, but you'd still have to come in for the ridge line permit because the whole property has ridge line on it. But at least if you moved it down to below the 500, then there wouldn't be as many issues with it as there would be above the 500. So that's just something for you to think about.
Again, the applicant's online. He's
Yep.
kind of listened to all this as go on. So I'll
Yep.
have a certain discussion with him. But
Yep.
yeah, we're trying to look, he obviously wants, it's going to be his home. He's looking to try and get some bit of a view. So we're trying to, it's a balancing act. Let me have that
Yep.
discussion.
Yep, well, that's what and they also, when they put the original location of the house on there, they tried to do it so it was in the open field section and not in the actual trees. Where up above the 500, I think you're actually up into the trees now. So there'll be more clearing as opposed to not in the trees where there wouldn't be as many clearings. Let's see.
We'll take a look at the aerial. Yep.
You just take a look and discuss it. And I'm just giving you something to think about. So you need it. So for the record, they need a grading plan, some driveway profiles, and we'll also need color elevations of the house with dimensions and such. And with that, also the clearing, what you're planning on clearing around the house.
Okay, I think as part of the application, we did submit elevations. I forget if they were colored, but we have those already. So
Yeah, the ones I had, the one that I saw was not colored.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and we'll also need, for the record, need the original driveway agreement so that we make sure that there were some ponds and wetlands down in the lower portion of this site. And we did some extensive work down there, making sure we stayed out of it. And we had some permits to cross at the existing road crossing and all that, etc. So we just want to make sure that everything down in the lower end where the driveway is shared, that everything stays the same.
Okay, makes sense. Yep.
Stacy,
Yes.
can you hear me? This is the applicant, James.
Yes.
So the house at 510, 514 elevation, which was shot by a surveyor, it's actually, there's no trees at that line. It's actually the same where that shows where that farm driveway comes. That was established like 30, 40 years ago. So the removal of putting the house with tree removal is actually almost zero because there's a field right there. So it's not like removal of the trees at 515 elevation foot. Is
Okay.
that the elevation of tree line actually is around 530.
Okay. So just make sure Mike puts that on the plan and documents that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
100%.
In fact, Mike, you are aware, I can tell from your application, of the various requirements for the ridgeline overlay area, the buffer, the amount of clearing that's allowed, the requirement to show the vegetation. So we can go over that if you have any questions between now and your next submission. And
Okay.
also,
Yeah.
you need to get the full, as I mentioned to you earlier, the full environmental assessment form, because it is in the Ridgeline Overlay Protection District, and we are required to classify this as a type 1 under seeker,
Right.
even if you do receive a neg deck.
Yeah, understood. I guess that the ridge line pushes or bumps us into that type 1 procedure, which also requires, I presume, a circulation for lead agency. So
That's right.
yeah, if the board was so inclined, we would certainly like to at least maybe get that rolling upon the submission of a long form, so we can get that process going.
Well, let's get some of the others. Let's get the grading plan in, the driveway profiles, and the color elevations so that we can have a complete packet.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to give Mike an update, a heads up that the deadline for the submission, if you want to get on for the July meeting, would be July 1st.
Which is, I think,
Next week.
Yeah.
Next
So-
Friday.
You have a week.
Next
So next,
Friday.
next Thursday, isn't it? Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday.
So that'll be the deadline for the July
Thursday?
22nd meeting.
Thursday.
Fourth is Sunday.
okay.
Or do we need to set an escrow for this at this meeting, or would we do that when we get the submission comes in?
Well, you can set it now, and then if a submission comes, it can go out.
Okay. Right, and normally for this, what's our number, Eileen? Is it 22,000 or 2,500?
I think for the special use permit, it's usually a little lower.
Okay,
I would probably go with, well, it's usually 250, but if we're gonna have Greg's office look at this, then I probably would stick with that, or 500.
I would go higher than that because
Okay.
we're going to have Wanda and some.
Well,
she might have-
Wanda's staff, she doesn't.
Yeah, but she might have to do some of the outside people on this. So, yeah.
Okay, well, you make the call, Stacy.
I don't know, Chris, what do you think? You said 2,000
well,
or 1,000?
2,000 might be a little too much. Let's call it 1,000. Anybody have an objection to that? I'll just, again, the assurance is that this is just an escrow. Anything that's not used will be returning to the applicant.
Yep.
But we just need that money available so that we can farm this out, the applications out to our professionals for their review.
And Mike, just to give you a heads up, because of the size of the driveway alone, of disturbance and stuff, you might need a SWIP on this.
Yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll calculate that obviously based upon disturbance, so
Yep.
forth.
So just have that number prepared too, so that we know.
And normally the SWIP review does end up costing more than the 1,000 that we're putting up for escrow, just as a point.
Yeah,
we might
I'm gonna presume it's just an erosion and sediment control plan, but we'll get that hard number together to figure it out.
Yep.
All right. Do I need a motion on the escrow?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Mary seconds. All in favor of $1,000 escrow?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, carried. All right, I think that's it for today.
Yep. And then in the future, Mike, I think we want to go out there on a site visit, so we'll talk to you about that next time.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, didn't we add Mayapack Bank to the agenda later?
Yes. Yeah, we didn't move on yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying we're done. Okay.
No, we're done with this application. All right,
Okay.
now,
The time tonight, we'll get the materials together and get it back before you in July. All right.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Yep.
All right, so the last application is another preliminary discussion on the Mayapack Bank amended site plan and special use permit to develop a drive-through ATM facility on the west side of the building. It's 673 Freedom Plains Road, and it's in a commercial district. It's right across the street from Apple Valley Shopping Center.
Brian, are you able to share? I mean, are you ready to share?
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay, you just have to
Give
give
them
us-
permission.
All right, so Jennifer, could you stop sharing? I will get Brian co-host. Okay, you should be able to do it now, Brian.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is the Mayapack Bank location here. Buildings in red. Freedom Plains Road is right here. If you're going up the page, we're going toward Poughkeepsie. If we're going on the bottom, we're going toward the town center. Two existing entrances. They're both one way, so you have one way in. Then we have some stacked parking. We have some pull-in parking here, and then we have a drive-through area here. And what the applicant would like to do is use an ATM here in the drive-through lane. So what we did is we put together an application to the town, and we had I guess we'd say a pre-meeting. I met with Stacy and some of the other consultants, and we were talking about possible impacts to neighboring properties. We have an existing residence right here, which sits up higher. So as you're pulling in, I'm sure the board is familiar with the site. This used to be an old florist shop, but as you pull in, there's a pretty significant rock cut in through here, and then from the edge of this pavement it goes up dramatically because it is all rock. It's almost a vertical face. But as you're coming into this section here, this house is probably 8 to 10 feet higher than the actual finished graded surface as you make your way around the building. So what we try to do, following some of the code requirements, is provide some screening to this residential property here, concerned about headlight glare and vehicles waiting in queue to use this ATM location. So looking at the site, we have there's existing pines on this residential piece that are staggered and they're offset. So what we were thinking was, because if you see the size of this right away, this is all DOT right away. It's actually pretty extensive through here. I think at one point they probably thought about widening Route 55 in this location, and that's why this right away is kicked back so far. So what we're trying to do is provide landscaping and screening that fits what is existing here with this residential property. So these pine trees are taller on this residential piece. So what we provided was some low growth shrub plantings that kind of fill in the bottom of the pine trees that exist here. As you move your way back toward the site, you start getting into that bedrock condition. So plantings in this area here are going to be kind of rough. So what we thought about doing is putting a PVC fence here, solid 6 foot white, just to provide that additional screening. Again, this house is uphill from the drive-through area. And then as you make your way around, the way the code reads, in which we're seeking a variance on, is they require concrete curbing to delineate your traffic lanes for an ATM. So what we've provided here is some striping, and we have an active application to be in front of the ZBA to discuss that variance that we're seeking here. And then as you make your way around, there's provision in the code against headlight glare coming across the site from the ATM. So what we try to do here is, you can see this is our property line here, and our edge of pavement is very close. So what we were trying to do is provide some screening in here to block that vehicle headlight that you could possibly have from that ATM location. So I think that's basically the crux of the application. I just want to get some general feedback. I do appreciate for letting us sneak on the board to have a discussion on it. But that's the application in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, is the blacktop getting widened from the front left corner? I was there today. Like the front left corner of the building, right where the drive-through is, the ATM. In other words, there is a significant dirt spot on the left side, or are you blacktopping more? Is just the existing blacktop the finished width?
I think the existing blacktop is the fixed width.
So you got some room from that front corner. That's where I thought the only space you really had for some landscaping.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I mean, this location in here, I mean, we could show something in here, I guess.
But that corner from the front of the building, there's quite a bit of, there's an area, a nice little spot there where you have for some landscaping, right? But I don't know if you own it. I can't really tell by this, you know what I mean? Is this all blacktop that you have there in this drawing? Is this correct to what's there?
Yeah, I mean, this is an as-built survey. This is an as-built condition. So
okay.
So Brian,
and the other thing is, what are you going to do I'm sorry, Stace, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go. I'll keep going.
In other words, where your blacktop goes to where that rock cut is, I mean, what are you going to do where it meets the rock cut? You're just going to leave that like it is now?
That was the intention.
Okay.
So I know that you had an issue with drainage on this site. You want to talk about that because that's part of why everything is the way it is now. Correct? That's why you had to cut some stuff back and open some stuff up and get the drainage to where it had to go.
Well, I think when it was opened up, they, as part of the opening up, they redirected some of the water. But as far as the reason why we're here, drainage was not one of the items that I was aware of. If it's a concern with the board, we'll obviously.
No, I think you took care of that with the as-built that's out there now.
Okay.
What I'm saying. So
okay.
you know what I mean? So you're using sheet flow and some other stuff, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why you want no curbing. Is that correct?
Correct.
I have a question. At some point, there was a discussion of moving those 2 parking spaces back to the edge of the property line. And I'm not sure what became of that. And I think it had to do with the potential conflict with the cars pulling around the building. I don't know where you went with that concept.
Yeah, I think our concern was that it was a safety, potential safety issue for the, if there are cars actually parked in those parking spaces, they actually have to back out into the flow of cars coming through. So.
Yeah, I know we had a discussion about it. I quite honestly forgot where we left it off, but if it's the board's wish, we can, we can reposition those to the backside that we discussed and we can stripe that accordingly.
Yeah, I think that would make me feel more comfortable. The only question I would think is, would that make the turning radius of the vehicles coming through too tight to, because it looks like as it comes around that corner, it gets kind of pinched. So
yeah, we can run the vehicle turning analysis on it, and I can give you a car and a truck run path on it, and we'll provide justification to position those spaces so we don't have that conflict.
Right. Yeah, because I would feel more comfortable with if people with a pedestrian looking both ways and walking across those lanes of traffic versus somebody who has to back out and somebody comes barreling around. So that's my concern.
And Brian, I saw a plan where you had shown the plantings right there at the end of where that car is starting to come out of the travel lane.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't show that. You had some plantings right there.
Yeah, let me zoom in. It's, I think it's probably just, I show some bushes.
There they are. There they are. Yeah, okay. Now you can zoom back out because I have another question. So we had also talked about some kind of screening of this parking area right to the east side, on your bump out parking near the by the sewage disposal system. Not there, along parallel to the road, right in that little tiny bit that you have this. That's your up, because that's the right of way back on your property now. Now this same area but back on your property. No, the little tiny strip that's right here parallel to Freedom Road, and it's over by that first parking spot. Yeah, there you go. So we had talked about either some screening there or a stone wall or something.
Yeah, we could just, it probably look better if we just match this.
Yeah. So
just to have a random stone wall here when we don't have it anywhere else, I think it'd probably be better suited if we just wrap this landscaping around.
Okay. Because I know you couldn't go over the SDS, but you could do, put some plantings. I don't know. Isn't your sewage disposal over in this corner somewhere?
We're over in this corner with sewage disposal. I would the only thing I could probably do in here is the same thing that we're proposing here, is just some low growth, like shrub style.
Okay. Just something enough to break up the cars from the road. Yeah.
That's no problem.
Okay.
And Brian? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, no, you go ahead first.
Brian, how wide is that outside lane going around the back?
going around this, I think I'm 14 feet here. I may be a little bit more, if memory serves me right, but the next submission will have dimensions on it for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I would prefer no curbing back there if you can help it, just stripe it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mark, that's a variance they have to go for because with drive-throughs, it's required. So that's why they're going to go to the ZBA. So that could be one of our recommendations, that for safety reasons that they don't curb it.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to just mention to Brian. If he could mention that to the ZBA, I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Brian, then the water is the pitch, and I didn't look at it closely in a sense of, how sometimes when you have a rock above you and in wintertime, if it rains, the water comes out of the shale and it comes onto the blacktop. So that blacktop is kind of pitched back towards the ledge, correct?
Yeah, pitch back.
So if water ever does run through the shale after a 2-inch rain, like on my own house, it does that. 2 days later, the water comes through the shale. And then in the winter, obviously that would be a sheet of ice, but it's pitched towards the ledge, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so my comment during our meeting, Brian, regarding the existence of 2 entrances along a state highway so close together has to do with actually NYSDOT's access management initiative, in which they're looking to actually decrease the number of openings along state highways on commercial properties. So whether or not the board cares about this or not, I think it's also important to ask NYSDOT what their thoughts are on the existence of these 2 these 2 entrances.
I'm gonna just, from an applicant standpoint, the applicant is gonna want to maintain the entrances as is, just for the visibility and the flow of the site.
Right, I can understand that, although I think that the question might be whether or not the visibility for the one closer to the north is in fact a danger rather than an improvement. But I think it's worth reaching out to NYSDOT just to get their input on that. And obviously we have to anyway.
Is that through you, or do I do that?
Jennifer, do you know off the top of your head what type of action this is? Seeker wise?
It's a type 2 action. So we're not required to circulate, but it's because there's a curb cut on a state highway road. I think we have every reason to ask NYSDOT for their input.
So I think it should come from the planning board if we're asking their input.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So your next step, Brian, is to go to the ZBA and you're looking for variances on curbing and setback.
Yeah, I think just in a pre-existing non-conforming. I may be mistaken, but I know we're going for a setback issue and the curbing. So yes, and we've made application, and we'll keep the board posted on our actions with them.
Yeah, the setback is on the west side between the building and the rock.
Yes.
And the curbing is because they want curbing in the back. And I just want to point out for the record that Justin on February 11th of this year, 2021, made a determination that the fence that you're talking about, which we haven't officially decided the color and everything of yet, just to let you know, is part of the site plan, part of the review, because it's also shading the 2 lights you have there in the back and on the side, and the lights from the building. So it's not just for the drive-through, so it's for the site plan, and he made that determination.
Correct.
Since Mark's recommending no curbs, I mean, I'll definitely agree with Mark. So should we officially do something for Brian for the ZBA? A recommendation of, an official recommendation?
I can prepare a memo when this is referred to the ZBA regarding this.
Okay.
Right.
That the planning board is in favor of the variances. That's all we have to say. Yeah.
Right. I guess we all are, correct?
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing, just make sure you get a grading plan so that we can check the, mainly, you know, in the, just for the blacktopped areas. You don't have to do the whole site, just the blacktopped areas, so we can make sure we have the right pitch for the driveway, or for the parking lots and the driveways, because there is a certain pitch you have to have coming off onto onto the state highway. And I know it's really steep there and cars bottom out. So we need that.
Yeah, I have the as-built with all the spot elevations of all the,
Yep.
and we'll provide that in the next submission.
Yeah,
yep.
Ryan, I have heard that from a couple of people. You know, you do have a problem with cars bottoming out coming out of there.
I've heard that.
All right, so I don't know where it is to figure it out. I guess you guys will figure it out. So whatever you got to do, I don't know if it's your issue or the county issue or where it is, but you got a problem. I have a high truck, so I don't do it, but I've heard several people tell me they bottom out there. I guess the marks are on the road where they do it.
And it's a state road, Al.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You are
That's all right.
correct.
I have a question on the illumination and the photometric plan. That for the ATM, you've met all those requirements, right?
I believe so.
For illumination?
I think
I
think the
it's
plan
probably
actually
local
has to
design.
come to the property line, because it doesn't come all the way and it doesn't go to zero.
Right.
So you're just going to have to make it go to the property lines.
I think there's some strict rules on that ATM.
Yeah, I think you got to be in what, a minimum 5 or 8. There's minimums on the ATM for security.
And then we also have restrictions for site plan. So so just bring it till it matches goes to zero, and make sure it goes, you know, towards property line.
Yep.
Yeah, when you go to the ZBA, you can tell them we have to illuminate the ATM, but we've done our best to minimize it at the property line.
Right, and also too, the grade starts to climb pretty quick there too, so that provides some
Yep.
natural
Yep.
cutoff.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments, planning board? All right. I think we're good. Good
Mr.
luck with your
Chairman.
variances.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to set an escrow?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we should. Is this a more significant one? So this one probably is in the $2,000 range, isn't it?
It's a bank, so I would be cautious.
All right.
They can loan
$10,000. No.
they can loan themselves money.
Yep.
They'll use Bitcoin, I guess.
There you go.
So just
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead
no
and-
good at making this determination. So Stacy, you go ahead.
I go with you, Chris.
Yep.
2,000.
2,000.
Okay, sounds good, guys.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second, Mark.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
sorry. Go, I'm sorry.
Well, we're about to adjourn, so.
Yeah,
speak
before
now.
you adjourn, we were intending to discuss escrow and the setting of escrow internally with your input at the last week, and the meeting went on, so we weren't able to do it. But there have been some questions about the HRH project, because probably before the next meeting, we may need to get some input from outside experts. And we were hoping that you might be willing to set the escrow for that as
Well,
well.
actually, honestly, I answered your email, and I don't believe that the Hudson River housing application is a firm enough application. I think that there's a lot of moving parts in there, and there's a lot of internal work that has to be done with public works and so on. So I'm really reluctant to set an escrow at this point. I don't necessarily, I understand that the applicant feels a sense of urgency, but I don't.
Okay.
how do I get that existing agreement we had talked about?
Which
That's
one
right.
was
I had
that?
asked to see it too.
There's, Jennifer had said there's like a 687 page existing agreement. And I wanted to look that over.
The existing agreement, you mean the previous
Yes.
plans? I can email them to you.
Thank you.
Can I see them too, please?
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I'd like to see it as well.
All right.
Just send it to the whole board.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm assuming that the board can see them without any kind of a foil. Is that right, Lisa?
Lisa says
Yeah,
yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
And Jennifer, again, please send it to Eileen to be sent out to the board.
Okay.
We want to distribute everything through her.
It has to go in two parts because it's so large. I had to break it into two pieces.
That's
So
fine.
I'll make sure that Eileen sends it that way.
That's fine. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
So our next meeting is going to be live.
That's the plan, Dennis. Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
You got plenty of time to get ready and look good.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn at 8:46.
Okay. Do I have a
Let me
second?
check.
I already second.
Mary second.
Mary seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? No. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Everybody have a
July.
safe 4th of July then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
You too now.
Good
night, everyone.
You
Good
will,
night.
everyone.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.